If I was a wolf, and I was lucky, I'd be gunned down right now by a hitman in a helicopter. And if I was unlucky, I'd die a torturous death from strychnine poisoning. My name's John E. Marriott. In this episode, I'm exposing you to the Alberta wolf cull. The Little Smoky, a 2,500 square kilometer chunk of boreal forest located in the Alberta foothills just north of Hinton and just southeast of Grande Cache. This area is historically home to a wide variety of wildlife, ranging from moose and wolves all the way down to beavers, otters, and great gray owls. This area is also home to 60 to 80 boreal caribou, called the Little Smoky herd. This herd of woodland caribou is one of the most critically endangered in the entire country. Like most of their counterparts across British Columbia and Alberta, the Little Smoky caribou herd has seen a precipitous decline in their numbers over the past few decades, due to a striking increase in industrial development. 95% of the caribou habitat here has been fragmented and disturbed by oil and gas development and forestry. Everything from roads to clear cuts, oil rigs, gas wells, pipelines, to seismic lines like the one that I'm standing on right now. This seismic line has a recreational snowmobile track going up it, which hard packs the snow and provides wolves easy access straight into the heart of caribou terrain. The industrial disturbance and the changes to the ecosystem has left both the Little Smoky and the Alberta herds on the brink of extirpation. They are literally teetering on the edge of disappearing forever. So instead of focusing on saving caribou, the government launched what amounted to be a very expensive public relations campaign that ignored the effects of mass-scale industrialization in the Little Smoky and instead implemented a war on wolves. Starting in 2005, the government began an intensive wolf cull in the Little Smoky and the Alberta, slaughtering wolves by the hundreds using aerial gunners and helicopters and strychnine poisoning set out at bait stations. By the start of 2016, the government's decade-long wolf cull has killed more than 1,200 wolves, as well as thousands of other victims ranging from grizzly bears and cougars all the way down to magpies and ravens. The government's campaign of scapegoating the wolf in the name of caribou recovery has been a complete failure. It's strictly an exercise in public relations. The Alberta herd has altered their traditional migration route and now avoids their wintering grounds that have been heavily impacted by industry. They're down to about 100 animals. The Little Smoky herd is just barely remaining stable at 60 to 70 caribou left. Meanwhile, forestry and oil and gas exploration, as well as road building, has continued unabated for almost the entirety of the wolf cull. The end result has been a critically scarred landscape and an ecosystem that is in serious need of restoration, now. 14 kilometers ago, we drove past a big, huge sign on the side of the road that said we were entering a designated caribou protection area. This is what apparently they call caribou protection. This is a road that has been freshly cleared. You can still see the needles here on some of these trees that they've cleared out of the way. And we got to the end of this road, to the end of the plowing, and amazingly enough, there's nothing there. There's a couple of gas wells from the 1980s that are not active anymore. So why on earth are they plowing this? This is a very clear example of the lack of caribou management that is going on here. Absolutely perfect winter habitat for caribou here. We've got a nice mixture in the muskeg of black spruce and tamarack with the odd lodgepole pine and some hair lichen on the trees, which is what the caribou are eating. From an ethical standpoint, the wolf cull doesn't have a leg left to stand on. The alpha wolves are collared early in the season, and then they're tracked down later in the winter to find their entire families, at which point the families are torn apart by gunfire from above. Far worse is what happens when strychnine baits are laced into carcasses deep in the forest, far from everyone's prying eyes. So imagine you're getting ready for bed and you lay down and you get one of those leg cramps. Everyone's had them. It lasts for 30 seconds and you're going, oh, go, go, oh. And next thing you know, it's over and you have a little laugh about it. Well, imagine though if that leg cramp happened to you and then at the exact same time you had another leg cramp on the other side. One of your forearm muscles started twinging, and then maybe your cheek, and then something in your stomach. And everything just started getting worse and worse. And the whole time your mind is crystal clear and you just start convulsing and twisting, and it's torturous and it's painful, and it gets so bad that your body literally cannot keep fighting. You cannot keep taking breaths, and your lungs shut down in the end. An agonizing, painful, slow death that might take anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour to 3 hours. That's what dying from strychnine poisoning is like. From a biological standpoint, the wolf cull has been a total disaster. The ecosystem has been turned on its ear, and the poisoning program has literally wiped out almost all of the wildlife that the locals used to see in abundance. Not only have the wolves been wiped out, but the coyotes and foxes are gone, the scavengers are gone, and even the moose population has plummeted after an intensive campaign to rid the area of moose so that wolves will stop coming in here. You know what's interesting is when I first started talking to the trappers and the hunters and Fish and Wildlife and so on in the area, I was kind of skeptical that there wasn't really much out here, but now that we've been out here for 4 days, we have literally seen firsthand there's almost nothing. It's easy to blame industry for what's gone on in the Little Smoky and the Alberta, but that's like blaming a kid for bad parenting. The hard truth is that our government does not have a caribou recovery plan, and they most certainly have not taken any action on caribou recovery. They've tried to stick a band-aid over a gaping wound, managing by not really managing at all. It's as if they're just buying time and waiting till there are only 5 caribou left, at which point they're going to say, oh, that's too bad. Well, we tried. This is yet another glaring example of where we need and expect our government to be stewards of our environment instead of allowing industry to buy those rights from all of us. This is a time when we need leadership, and we need the government to start taking responsibility for these issues. "30 years ago, I wrote 2 papers for my Biology 11 class that were about the British Columbia aerial wolf cull. I want to read you a bit from one of those intros. I wrote, "But as one reads and learns about the British Columbia wolf cull, one thing becomes clear. Nothing on this earth can match the savagery and stupidity of man." Indeed, 30 years later, and we're still dealing with this stupidity. What the heck? No way! Free food? Uh-oh. Think that final scene was ridiculous? Then imagine what it must be like to be a wolf stumbling across a freshly killed moose carcass laying in the snow. For the wolves of the Little Smoky in Alberta, there really is no such thing as a free lunch. If this episode got you fired up, then you're in luck on 2 counts. 1, we're not done yet with the wolf cull and caribou recovery issue, not by a long shot. We spent 4 days in the Little Smoky and discovered that there is a lot more to the story. As a result, we'll be back up there again this spring for another episode, and we'll also be following up with an episode later in the year or early in 2017, focusing on the 2 wolf culls going on in British Columbia. Thank you for watching Exposed. Before you go, please take action to help the wolves and caribou of the Little Smoky and Alberta. And stay tuned next episode for a caribou adventure of a different kind, as we journey north to the Barren Lands in search of the spectacular barren ground caribou in the Arctic.